publish what you want to be fixed, so the people who have the capability, there are people already working on it. And
Yeah, and then I run do full screen. That will not kill it, right? Cool. Maybe. Okay. It's got black and white. That's scary.
No.
That's a Google code.
But Lionel's involved, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And I assume his project is going to be sugarized.
Oh, I assume so, yeah.
So here's a chance
He probably already has said, we want to do this, and he's going to accept it. Because you don't just.
It's been going
say, "I
pretty
wanna go,"
slow
you have to be
today.
accepted.
I don't know why.
Once sugarizer is at the stage where you can actually rely on it and have all the stuff working that is crucial to a certain school.
Yeah.
Just flash the
Looks like it's working.
Yes.
Go to the
So
yeah,
what George was
Yes.
complaining about that the XO1s wouldn't be able to,
And-
the current
Flash.
package cannot run HTML5.
So that's what you have.
As it is,
I've been
it's not.
trying it.
Oh, are you using Linux?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Flash.
Yeah, so.
Flash is
that
evil.
was
I've
what he
lived
was
long enough to
complaining
know
about,
that.
right?
Yeah,
first
there's
version
ways I
sugar
could have
is-
downloaded it to present it remotely,
I
but
should run again.
okay.
has trouble actually getting it to work. Right? But this,
Yeah.
you're running
That's-
the Debian version, right?
Is the problem.
I don't know, the cameras don't know, so they can't see us, they can hear us.
Yeah, well, we're doing screen share, so.
That's what I think.
I think it has to be very stripped down because of how anemic the actual system is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm running this on an HTML5
Is
browser.
this connected?
From what Tony said.
So like if I got my own computer, could I just hook up my own computer to the PowerPoint?
It is surmountable.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess then, no, never mind. Well, so we need Google Hangouts going and we need this going.
Ice Diesel,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
Firefox with all
There we
the branding.
Alright, hopefully it won't crash again.
And running shows up.
And that's online.
I'll download it.
Yeah, so you, yeah, okay. That's
Yeah.
perfect. So
But
it
it's
is
slow,
sugarized on the
it's glacial.
Slow, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Fingers crossed.
Get on.
I'd like to try that.
But people are saying we've got so many of these out there, it makes them useful, whereas otherwise they might be less useful.
Okay, we're switching over to Sorrel's presentation on the role of language.
Mother of my tongue languages,
Tongue
literacy,
languages, Such,
things.
so, all
Um,
yours.
Yeah, so I got involved with this stuff back in 2013. And basically I wanted to start a computer center. So Adam Holt, who many of you guys know, wrote him an email and he sends me down to Haiti with this backpack full of laptops. And yep, that's what Adam does. So right from the beginning, we got kids doing creative stuff on the laptop. This kid is using Tam Tam to play the song. I think we were doing Are You Sleeping that day. So we've got kids doing creative things, engaging with these machines. The first day of class, I always want the kids to start with cameras because they're familiar with what a camera does, but they've probably never gotten the chance to take a photo of themselves before. And as you guys all know, the XO does not have a front and back camera, only has a front camera. So the first day, you've got to kind of figure out how can I hold my XO and take a photo of something over there. But you know, they're kids, they're smart. So after about 10 minutes or so, they figure it out. They start doing cool poses and having a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people don't get to go and see this stuff in person, so I do. It's great, and these kids really enjoy what they get to do with these computers. So we kind of had this vision of, we work in places like orphanages, we're doing after-school programs. So in this photo, you got a bunch of kids chilling, working on homework, or just kind of flipping through textbooks, having fun. So we see stuff like this going on, and we just think, hey, what happens when you add computers to the mix? These kids are already playing. These kids are already, like any kids in the world, engaged, excited about learning. What happens when computers get added? And, you know, we saw some pretty cool stuff. This is eToys. You drive the car, and the car draws while it drives. And you can mess around with the pen colors. You can mess around with the direction. And, you know, kids poke around at this, and they have a lot of fun. And this is all stuff from the field. I think this is an example of a really great activity. And here's why this activity is great. It's really basic. Like all I've got is like the red turtle follows the green follows blue. I can change which ones are following which one. So not the most complicated thing in the world. You plunk this down in front of a kid, you don't really give them directions, you walk away. You come back 5 minutes later, and I actually picked out this activity to install on my computers with a specific kid in mind. I knew he was really good at graphic stuff, so when I was planning what activities we were going to put in the next version of Haiti OS, which I'll talk about in a moment, I thought, hey, what will that kid want to play with? So I thought of this. 5 minutes later, he had come up with this. He's awesome, and he shows his friends. So you really do, we talk a lot about, is constructive education possible? Can kids be creative? Can computers enable creativity? And these are just a few examples from the field of, yes, this is happening, this is possible. This is another example. You talked about the Labyrinth activity. There's 2 Labyrinth activities if you have your computer in French. One is Maze, Labyrinth in French. The other is this, and it is a mind mapping activity.
And that's the one they used in Latin America.
It's
Or in
fantastic.
Uruguay. They love
So all this one is very basic stuff, not fancy at all. I got boxes, I got words. The boxes have lines that connect them to each other. But you give this to kids and they run with it. So this kid, we gave them no instructions. We were like, boxes, words, go. And this kid was like, I'm gonna make a chart of all of the fruits available in Haiti. So, 10 minutes later, she's got mango, apple, anana, looks like banana, actually means pineapple, orange. And she comes up to me, she's like, can I take photos of these fruits and like add them to this chart of mine? So kids are capable of doing some pretty awesome things by themselves if you give them the right tools, was what we found, which was pretty cool. And we were talking about prioritizing which activities to work on. We've been talking a little bit about curriculum. We worked in Haiti and made a curriculum, and everyone should go check it out. So if you go to wiki.laptop.org/go/HaitiOS, or if you just type Haiti OS OLPC into Google, it'll be like the first thing that comes up. This is a 12-week curriculum. We wrote it in Creole originally, so like some of these I need to fix later, like dessiner means draw, and the English translation does not have that, sorry. But this is a 12-week curriculum that starts with the base, 3 weeks of base, 3 weeks of exploring, 3 weeks of doing group work, and then 3 more weeks of doing an independent project. So it's a pretty cool, lays out what teachers are supposed to do every single week, what activities, and it moves kids from knowing nothing about the computer and being very teacher guided to working completely independently or in self-organized groups. And we've tested this in Haiti. This was developed alongside teachers, and there's some stuff in there that's Haiti specific, like Haiti Dictionary. I'm assuming that no one else in the world speaks Haitian Creole, so that won't be as relevant to you. But most of this stuff is usable all around the world, and I would recommend just taking a look at this. And a lot of the activities that we've used, I would prioritize those just based on the feedback we've gotten from educators on what stuff is worth sugarizing. So yeah, use that link.
What is Pale?
Pale is speak. And I can go through that and translate everything, make sure everything's translated to English. We kind of did the English thing at the last minute because we were like, oh, this might be useful to people beyond Haiti. So I will do that, and it's just a few words in there that aren't in English. So we talked a little bit about there's 800,000 computers around the world. I think the number is actually 2 million, but whatever you want to pick, it's a big number. So in Haiti, that number was 13,000. One Laptop Per Child claims that they sent 13,000 computers to Haiti. Wave Place, another organization, sent an additional several hundred or so, I want to say. And the nice thing about One Laptop Per Child is they made my life a little convenient. They sent them to 4 specific towns. So I have actually been to all of those towns, and you want to have fun, go walk around the town, knock on the door of schools, and ask the teachers if they have green and white laptops. And what we found is that, government corruption aside, many of the computers actually did make it to the schools. And this was in 2008, and MIT sent kind of a refresher team in 2011. Right after the earthquake, there was funding, yay, to make some of this happen. But I came around in 2013, 2 years later. And in 2013, the EXOs worked. You know, we pulled all the boxes out of the closet. We set them out on a table, and we made sure that they turned on. You know, the OS was out of date, but it functioned. So the computers worked. That was not the issue. But they had been sitting in rooms gathering dust, and we started wondering, well, what is the real issue? So we started talking to teachers, administrators, parents, students in these 4 different towns. Why are you not using these computers? Because we had gotten funding to take some of Adam's computers down in backpacks like the ones you saw on the first slide. And we'd seen amazing stuff happening at these schools in these after-school sessions. You know, kids are doing really cool, creative things. So we were wondering why these other schools had not caught on. Well, it turns out there were reasons for that. So there's me standing on a roof talking to a community leader.
Nice shirt.
Yeah, I thought you would appreciate it. I stuck it in
I'm still wearing mine.
Mine got holes
Okay.
in it because I used it to wrap up a solar panel, and the solar panel cut it, so I no longer wear mine.
Maybe you can fix that.
Yeah.
Get another shirt.
Yeah, I will wear it. They're really comfy.
I get one that doesn't fit, so she could use to wrap up her solar panel.
Yeah.
Multiple shirts of mine have been sacrificed to solar panels. Because you don't want to walk down the road with a solar panel. You want to walk down the road with a shirt that is in a weird shape. That's safer. So this is a training session. We have teachers right alongside students learning together. That dude over there is Junior. He was with us he started with us in 2011 and just working with us as a teacher trainer. So we had some pretty good stuff going. You know, trying to get feedback from the schools, trying to do training and get teachers prepared. One of the big pieces of feedback we got was, hey, we don't have power for these computers. He does have an electrical grid, but not really. Like, it comes on and off at random times. And schools do not have internet. Not internet. They don't have internet, and they don't have electricity because the electrical company, they're called ADASH, they don't monitor people in their homes because private homes are just too difficult to monitor. They do monitor churches, they do monitor schools, they do monitor businesses. So if you are a school, you pay for your electricity. If you are a private citizen, you run a wire to your house and you don't. So schools don't have electricity, private citizens do. We had to fix the problem of schools not having electricity because most of these schools do not want laptops going home. So there's no chance of charging it at home. So we had to install charging systems at the schools. George Hunt was amazing. There were other people who contributed, but he was the main one. So sorry, people, I'm forgetting. But George Hunt worked with me to develop really low-cost solar systems. And these days, whenever I talk to tech companies who are working in the developing world, they're always like, yeah, our solar system costs $500. I'm like, how many watts is your panel? They're like 50. I'm just like, for $1,000, I can power 20 exos, which is far more than a 50-watt panel will do. So we've come up with some pretty good systems that work on the ground, and we've installed them. There's a solar panel being raised onto a roof. There's me. We've also worked with, we've already talked a lot about Internet at Box. So we worked a lot with getting Internet at Box working both as an offline server and in places that have internet, acting as a gateway to the internet. So there's me trying to make things work and probably failing. But so yeah, when I say places that we've worked, we have 9 projects. That's 7 primary schools. Primary schools used to be 1 to 6 in Haiti. As of last year, they're now 1 to 9. Government's trying to shut down schools by forcing them to add on free extra grades. So that's cool. 2 orphanages. We have 6 active projects. Active means the computers are being used. We have 3 inactive projects, which means the computers are not being used. And this is since we started in 2013. There's many other inactive projects across the country as of 2011 and 2008. But I was not directly involved with those, and neither was the rest of our team. So I'm counting the 9 sites. And, you know, I noticed an interesting pattern. All of our inactive projects lack funding. It turns out that if you want to run an after-school program, you have to pay people to stay after school. So if you do not pay people to stay after school, the project doesn't happen. And unfortunately, as a volunteer organization, we did not have funding to pay someone to stay after school. So normally when we entered into a partnership with the school, it was a international organization that would contact us because the Haitian school did not have the time, the English skills, or the internet to find us on their own. So it would be an international organization that said, I'm funding this school, go to this school, do your training, and I will guarantee that I will pay someone to run the after school program. So at the time we started these projects, they all had funding, but hey, funding runs out. So at the 3 sites we're funding right now, there are no projects going anymore. To be fair, there's one site where the funding ran out and the project is still going because that site is at an orphanage, so the kids have access to the computers after the school day ends because they live with them. But yeah, for the most part, turns out if you don't have money, stuff doesn't get done. Who knew? So from my perspective, and this is moving into my perspective, and it's not a perspective that everyone I've worked with in Haiti shares, and it's not a perspective that everyone in this room shares, and it's not a perspective that you should share. I think we should all do the things that we feel is the right thing to do, and the world will hopefully get better as a result, I hope. But from my perspective, because we were asking schools to do an after-school program, which cost more money, required them to hire an extra person to stay after school, because you can't expect a teacher who's just gone through a stressful school day to have energy to teach for an additional 2 hours. And we were just asking all of these extra things of these schools that were already struggling to do the basics. And for me, it just stopped making sense. I think a lot of after-school programs I opened with all those really cool creative things. When they work, they work. But when you don't have the funding to guarantee that they're going to happen, they don't work. So I started thinking, is it possible, all these computers are on the ground in Haiti, is it possible to put these computers to use without asking the schools to commit an extra person, an extra amount of money at the end of the school day? And so I really started thinking, well, where can computers add value to what the schools are already doing? Personal bias, I love books, I love reading, so I started looking at literacy. The great thing about Haiti is they actually do have a real problem where this is concerned. This is a cartoon that the teacher drew on the board to teach the kids how to make cartoons, but it also illustrates all of my really cool social points, so I always use them on my presentations. Here you got a dude, Toto, who's going to school, and his friend says, "Bonjour, Toto." And you guys may not be able to see, but bonjour here is spelled without an R, because when you write in Creole, when you speak Creole, you don't have an R. When Toto arrives at school, his classmates have suddenly, he's talking to the class, and his speech has suddenly acquired an R. The bonjour over here has an R. Because when you're on the street chatting with your friends, you speak Creole. That is the language you speak. It is a language. It is not pidgin French. It is not broken French. It is not slang. It is a language. When you get to school, you speak French. Because it turns out that schools can be pretty messed up places where we impose power structures on people and do not necessarily expect all students to succeed. We're just trying to pick out the few gifted ones that can rise to the top. Because, yeah, a lot of the colonial system is still in place around the world. Luckily, this is changing. There's been some great work done by a woman named Chris Lowe, working with Michelle DeGraff from MIT, using EXO laptops at a really poor school on an island off the coast. And they've done some great results by teaching kids in the language they speak, gasp. So now there's been, and at the same time, there's been a lot of international recognition and studies and research that, oh wait, we should teach kids in the language they speak at home. So there's now more and more push for that. But a big problem for a long time was there were not books in Haitian Creole. All the books were in French. So you say, let's teach kids to read in Haitian Creole. That's great. What are they going to read? And so one way that the U.S. government decided to address this was the U.S. government said, well, we think the best way kids learn how to read is phonics. It's been proven for English that phonics is a really great method for English. So let's fund people to develop software that will help teachers write books based on phonics in their own language. So think Cat in the Hat in Haitian Creole. So I worked with Nick Doiron, who many people in this room know. He's a cool guy. And we developed a word list of Haitian Creole words, and we developed a way of sorting them based on ease of reading. And we developed this application for writing books. So we've got Ajoute Page, Add Page, Search for Words. We called it Illuminate. And we went to Haiti and we tested it, and USAID thought it was great and gave us a lot of money for that. It turns out it wasn't great. Like, the teachers liked using it. They were able to use it to write books, but the more comfortable they got with writing books, the less they used our word list. And a big part of that was, actually, Haitian Creole is a pretty phonetic language. Like, all of those, you read them exactly how they look. So this whole idea of we need easy to read words, we need cat in the hat, is just not as relevant for languages that are not as messed up as English. English is one of the most messed up writing systems in the world, it turns out. Who knew? Arabic and Chinese are pretty messed up too. French is like minimally messed up, like it looks complicated, but it does follow rules once you learn the rules. Haitian Creole is great. And most languages in the world are actually pretty great. So we started questioning this idea of writing books in phonics is what kids need to read better in Haiti. So wait, why aren't kids reading in Haiti if phonics wasn't the issue? Well, maybe it's just that they don't have access to, oh, this is just a photo of us trying out a story from the app on the ground. So teacher working with a cute kid. So why aren't kids learning how to read if the problem is in phonics? Oh, wait, maybe let's blame the teachers. So often teaching systems in Haiti are very rote memorization based. Part of that is the teacher has to work with 50 kids at once. There's no way you can know what level each of those kids is at. But if you have them recite something, the kid whose mouth isn't moving, he's probably doing something wrong. And I asked the teachers, well, what writing activities are you doing with the kids? Because a lot of educators recognize that writing is a great way to get kids reading. They go hand in hand. And they said, oh, we'll show you a writing activity. So the teacher wrote numbers 1 through 100 on the board and had the kids copy the numbers. And they often do this. They will write a sentence in cursive on the board and the kids have to copy it 25 times. My mom made me do those as like punishment, like I will take out the trash next week 100 times. So, you know, the kids' handwriting was getting better, but they were not creatively combining words from their head onto paper. And so we started thinking, well, the teachers benefited so much from working with our app. That was one of the big pieces of feedback we got, was that teachers loved writing stories. And their understanding of their own language and their understanding of reading got better as a result of using this app to write stories, according to the teachers. We didn't do a lot of we didn't do surveys or anything to measure this. This is just anecdotal, what teachers told me. So we started thinking, how can we give kids the opportunity to write? Because they're clearly missing out on that right now. And so I teamed up with Gonzalo, who a lot of people in this room know. We used the USAID funding to make that happen. We've been talking a lot in this room about volunteers. Volunteer programmers are awesome. I love it when people work for free. In this case, we needed something done on a deadline, so we were able to get money for it to make it happen. So just pointing out that that's another option. Sometimes you can pay people sometimes, if you're lucky. So we created an app called Write Books. You can go to Activities and Activities Lab and download it. And our app is based on the premise that kids like images. So we were interested in having a really large image library that had background images, object images, and character images. And we wanted kids, when they don't know what to write, when they're sitting there going, I don't know what to write, brainstorm a story. Have a kitchen, have cheese puffs, have a bee. Oh, look, there's the start of your story. The bee was hungry, she cooked cheese puffs for lunch. This was not a Haitian-generated story. This was me and my friend messing around. But it's still a valid illustration of this is how we envisioned brainstorming if this app would work. So we created this app. We made some updates to the read activity. We made some updates to Patagar. I won't go into that too much, but basically we wanted kids to be able to add books to Patagar instead of just downloading. We wanted it to be a two-way street, adding as well. We wanted kids to be able to rate books on Patagar, so I like this book, you should read it too. And in terms of the read activity, we want kids to be able to add bookmarks. So while I'm reading, I thought this was cool, let's add a bookmark, and let's add a note to that bookmark. So you could actually write on the book. You could have bookmarks, you could make little notes, and you could share that with your friends, and you could go back later and be like, this is what I thought about page 57. And we thought that all of these things might help kids use technology as a tool for reading and writing. That was our big push, is what advantage does a computer have over a paper book? So we programmed all this stuff and talked a lot about all this stuff and tried to figure out how can we make a computer have an advantage over a paper book. Because my school was going to fund a research study where we actually tested out, is reading books on a computer better than reading books on paper? So these are all our numbers. We had preschools, 270 students, 18 teachers, grades 2 to 4, 120 books, all in Haitian Creole. There's a great org called Library for All that has been doing negotiations with publishers to digitize books for a very cheap price. No, they're not free, but they're 2 books per student, which I was like, I'll pay 2 books per student in order to encourage Haitian publishers and get books for my students in their language and culture. I think it's awesome. So 120 books. The pilot ran for 6 weeks, 2-hour lessons, 3 times a week, so that translates into 18 total classes. And we had class sizes of 15, which if you were paying attention is much lower than the normal total of students in a class, 50. The reason we did that is we wanted teachers to feel comfortable doing something new. Working with these books that were in Haitian Creole was very new to the teachers. They're used to using textbooks with, like very short stories about that long and like barely any images. They aren't used to full-fledged storybooks with engaging images and like long stories that actually take like 20 minutes or so to read out loud. So this was new to the teachers. We wanted them to have a chance to practice it in a more friendly setting than 50 students. Class size was 15. So yeah, I went and did that over the summer. This is a lovely chart of what it actually looks like when you talk about 270 students, so 15 students per class. We had a test group that was using laptops, a control group using paper books, and 15 all across 3 schools. That's what it looks like. And we got results, which we just started analyzing these results last week. These are very preliminary, but lucky for us, there's a lot of money and a lot of energy floating around in the world right now to get kids to read. So there's an organization that last year developed a test for reading in Haitian Creole. So instead of us having to develop our own test and like hope that it was valid, because I'm an undergraduate student, I don't know much yet, we were able to use their test, and that CWPM, that is correct words per minute. So what this is you have a list of 100 words the students are reading, and they have 60 seconds to read the words. You're counting how many words they read, and then you're subtracting the ones that they get wrong, and you're taking half points off for the ones that they read it wrong at first and then they corrected themselves. So that's what that measure is, CWPM, correct words per minute. And this is increases. So student takes a pre-test. At the end of the 6 weeks, he takes another test that is a different test, but it's supposed to be identical. The other org did this work and claims it's perfect. And we're looking at how much did that 6 weeks, 18 classes, 2 hours each time, how much did that increase that score? So we had 3 schools, varying results across schools. I have a bar graph slide next, but I just wanted to make the numbers really clear.
So the top number is what
The average for the school.
Well, that's average for the school.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you have the laptop versus.
Yeah, so as you can see, the laptop was consistently
Oh, yeah.
getting like about double the paper. This school was, the paper group just did terribly and the laptop group did great. And these are randomly selected groups. So at the start of the study, the laptop group was no different from the paper group in terms of gender, in terms of reading scores. So this is gains across the experiment and comparing a group that learned with laptops to a group that did paper. They did the exact same lessons. They did not have the exact same teachers, but the teachers were randomly selected as well. And they had the exact same time. We tried to keep everything exactly the same. Life is complicated, so I'm sure it was not in fact exactly the same all the time, but we did our best. And these are the results we got. Here's the pretty bar graph. So as you can see, school 1 did awesome. The other 2 results are less impressive. I mean, this is only a 6-week experiment, so honestly, we were happy to see results at all. And yeah, as you can see, paper group was consistently, there were gains in these 2 schools, no gains there, but lower in all cases
I
in
would
laptop.
say School 3 is really quite impressive because they obviously started at a much lower level than other schools.
This
The
is,
kids that have
this
the
is gains.
laptops made,
This is not,
right, but the kids
this
who
is
have
not
the
based on the
laptops-
starting level.
All right.
Yeah,
The kids who had the laptops made a huge gain,
yeah.
whereas the kids who didn't do much of anything.
And we have
Any
a,
idea about the
word.
variances of these?
so we have a lot more data to dig into. We
Yeah.
just started
That would be more
analyzing this data.
Yeah, yeah.
So a little bit, obviously there were differences between the schools,
Yeah.
which we have to look at.
Right, population.
We also need to look at differences between grades. Preliminary results suggest that we had graduates in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade.
Mhm.
The 1st graders benefited much less than the 2nd graders and 3rd graders, probably because they just were not ready for this kind of work. They still were learning their basic reading skills and they weren't ready to start reading and writing
Well, those are
independently.
probably the school 3 kids.
No, all of the schools had an equal number from each grade.
What
Yeah.
is 0? How many words per minute does 0 represent?
This is gains.
Gain.
All right, so
Someone
what-
made
what-
no gain.
What's 0 represent?
0
No
means they made no gains, but I don't know off the top of my head
No,
what
but
school
if-
3's starting
but if
level was.
What you're saying is school 1 started at X words per minute,
Right,
and at the end had X plus 16.
yeah.
So what is X?
I don't know off the top of my head, honestly.
Because if X is 1,000, then this is meaningless.
X is not 1,000. I
Well,
do know
that's
that
why
off
I'm
the top of my
asking,
head.
because it's
Yeah.
an important.
So this is, at the start of the experiment, I want to say kids were reading around like 10, 20, maybe 30. There was a lot of variation and I haven't actually, I did that calculation, but it's not at the top of my head.
Wasn't it on the previous slide?
No, this
Yeah.
is,
Very
this is still
different
gains.
schools, too.
This is gains here.
This
So-
needs to be in
Okay, I
the-
thought the top number was.
No,
Oh,
that's the
top is
average
the
for the
average.
school. Yeah.
Right, okay.
No, we have a lot more digging to do with these numbers. One thing we found out is, unfortunately, we had kids drop out over the course of this 6 weeks. Not everyone people signed up, but not everyone stayed for the whole 6 weeks. The students who dropped out were of lower, their initial test score was lower than
ones who needed it
the ones who
most.
stayed in. Now, that does not affect these results because we're comparing students' pre-test scores to their post-test. We're
Ah.
comparing the same student, right? So that doesn't impact these results, but it does suggest that, like, when we say, oh, these are the reading gains that will be produced, what we're doing might only work for the students who are already, like, doing pretty well. You know, so it might be the students who are reading 0 words per minute just left after 3 weeks in. And the students who are reading 10 jumped to 20. So we've got a lot more digging to do, but this stuff is interesting because I was not expecting this. Like, I've been doing stuff with laptops for a while on the ground in Haiti. Speakeasy Creole worked really close with the teachers, and we only gave them a week of technology training. So the paper group got extra lesson plan training, and the laptop group got technology training. We only gave them a week of training. I got sick midway through that week, so they actually didn't even get a full week of training. And so I was just had my fingers crossed that the laptop group wouldn't get lower. Like, I really hope they don't get lower because that will discredit the work we're doing. So I'm honestly pretty surprised that they got much higher, and I'm really confused about how that happened. You know, obviously I want to say, well, the tools we developed were obviously great. And I hope that that's it. I think shiny laptop is a factor.
Mhm.
These schools received these laptops in 2008, so it's not like the idea of having a laptop was new, but the laptops hadn't been used at school 2 and 3. School 1, we've been working with them for 2 years, so they've been using laptops for 2 years. But school 2 and 3, this was the first time the laptops had come out of the closet in a while. So I think that might have, I want to measure the shininess factor, and I'll talk in a moment about how we're going to measure the shininess factor. But yeah, this is interesting because most of the time when we do interventions at schools, we come in, we do training, we give them lesson plans, we give them materials, and we measure what changed. but we don't compare that to the cheaper option. Yes, paper is cheaper than laptops. It's nice that I don't have to pay $2 for all the books, but just given the complexity of laptops, we really do still have to make an argument for how what we're doing is better than paper. So this was, everyone got training, everyone got materials, everyone got lesson plans, but the laptops still showed advantages. And I hope more people do studies like this where you're directly comparing not just I did something and that produced change, but I did two different things, which one produced more change. Because I think these are the kind of arguments we need to be able to making if we want to justify schools spending money on technology, especially when we're talking about schools that don't have money in general, which I'll get to the end of my presentation. So moving on, this was over the summer, and we want to try doing it during the school day. That was the initial goal. These are our issues. The school day is 4.5 hours long. That's not a lot of time. There's 50 students in a classroom. That's a lot of students. There's a pressure to teach in French. Yes, the government is making strides for Haitian Creole, and yay, good job, Haitian government. But the state exam, which has been moved from 6th grade to 9th grade, but it's still happening, is in French. So at the end of the day, the kids are supposed to learn French. There's still a lot of cultural perceptions that school is where you go to learn French. So if we're pushing Haitian Creole as the language because it's been shown by research to be more effective for learning, we got some cultural opinions to overcome. And luckily, like, the teachers and principals I work with have been very good about talking with me about the research, talking about the advantages and disadvantages. Now that they have books in Haitian Creole, it's been much easier to convince them that Haitian Creole is worth teaching it. But it's still a hurdle, especially when we start saying we want to work with higher grades. So,
I have a suggestion for you.
yeah.
The replicator study was 4 groups instead of 2,
Mm-hmm.
and you do computer and paper with Creole and computer and paper with French.
Yeah.
And compare the results of those. Have the kids who have done this try switching languages also for
Mhm.
another comparison. Because I have a feeling that if they do the Creole, you're going to be able to show that it does apply
Yeah.
to French, because the transfer, the
There's
skills
been
of the
a lot of
skills
studies
will
demonstrating
transfer.
that.
Yeah.
And it's something to consider for my study. We'll see how much extra work that
Yeah,
translates
right.
to.
But
But,
you
yeah.
can work with smaller groups, maybe. You take those 50 and divide them up to 12 and a half kids in each group. And
So what our plan is now, and we can talk more about plans over lunch too.
2.5 kids.
And in that 4.5 hours, we're gonna be trying to convince schools to do 45 minutes a day. And that's gonna be 15 minutes of independent writing, half an hour of independent reading. So we're going to have 25 different devices, 2 groups of students. Half the students are doing a lesson with the teacher, and the other half are doing independent reading, independent writing. And we worked with schools to develop this plan. We're going to keep working. We're fleshing out now, submitting a proposal on Tuesday, doing training in December, fun time. This thing's gonna run from 5 months, January to June. So if the shininess effect is only 6 weeks long, we're gonna find out, because this thing is 5 months long. We are still doing paper versus laptop, so what's gonna happen is we're dividing it into, so it's actually not 5 months, really, it's more like 2.5 months. Because we'll have like an A group and a B group. A group is doing laptops first, then switches to books, and then swap for the next half. So that's the scheme right now. I'm totally open to comments, not now, probably, but during lunch. Because, yeah, I am submitting that proposal on Tuesday and want to make sure it's the best it can be. I am working with educators at my school and in Haiti to try to develop this. So I have several mentors at my school who work in the School of Education and do research. They're trying to help me do the best research I can. But we don't always think of everything. We're targeting grades 3 to 6 this time because we are thinking that this has more benefits for older students. So we're leaving out the second graders this time. And now we start running into issues of the higher grades are perceived as the grades where you start speaking French. So we're going to run into more conflict with French. But the teachers really push this idea of we want to work with older students. We think this has more benefits for older students. And the data, preliminary data supports that. So same 3 schools, 16 teachers this time, just because of the way the grades are divided up and the fact that we don't have a control group this time, or not a control teacher. We had a control teacher previously, and 600. It's going to end up being 600 students. So we're doubling the number of students that we're reaching. Well, more than doubling. Yeah. So like when we start talking about number of students, this is something that's really important to me. Part of my big reason for doing this is schools didn't have funds. And, you know, ideally, whatever we're doing is something that's affordable to the school. What we've seen in my own experience, I work with a lot of independent groups that fund schools. And it doesn't work very well because the school may or may not have a good relationship with their funder. And the funder may or may not be invested in the school and their goals. Like, we're really relying on our funders to have good relationships, and that's not smart because funders very rarely actually in the real world have good relationships. So at the end of the day, best case scenario in my world is either I get a whole lot of money, that one would be cool, or I come up with a solution that schools themselves can afford, something that a school can feasibly do. So we've been working really hard to get the cost down. And I'm really fortunate that a lot of people in this room, and not in this room, but in this community, have worked to get the lowest cost equipment possible. So we've benefited from their efforts, and all of this stuff has been tested on the ground in Haiti and works in multiple places, multiple times across the years. I mean, 2 years, not many years, but you know, more than 0 years. So, yeah, this is our cost stuff. Come talk to me if you have an idea of how to make this cost lower or how to get better equipment for around the same price, because I would love that idea. We are using Rachel as the server because that's what the people who are giving us the books want to use. So we don't have much leeway on that, unfortunately. But yeah, so we got $1,000 for equipment, $1,000 for us to send trainers and be supportive, and also the library access costs money, so $1,000 there. And then we are looking at the Amazon tablets. And I don't like the Amazon tablets, but I need something cheap because my goal is something that a school can afford. So we're going with that. And actually, I'm sorry, I think that cost is, I messed up that spreadsheet, sorry about that. The actual cost for the tablets is $1,050. So I don't know what happened there, but basically the cost of this whole project, ignore that $2,702, would be $3,050. And when you divide that out by 250 students, it comes out to, 1350 is wrong, sorry. It comes out to about $15 per student, which is something that, you know, not the poorest of the poor can afford, but a lot of schools can. So basically we're asking parents to pay a little more than $1 a month for this ability to use computers. So, you know, if you're really struggling, you cannot pay an extra $1 a month, but a lot of parents can. So we're looking to target those parents, and we're looking to demonstrate to those schools and those parents that what we're doing has advantages for their children. So we got a lot of work to do, but it's that's I kind of want to convey that perspective of we're looking for something that schools themselves can afford. Because in my own experience, working with funders has been pretty frustrating. Has not, as you saw, we have 9 sites, and 3 of them the funding ran out. And one of them, the relationship with the funder is really bad. And it, you know, it just, I would like schools to be able to afford this themselves. Yeah, so there's the Fire tablets. You can come talk to me. They used to be locked. You couldn't install any software on them. Now you can. And they got this 6-pack deal where you can buy 5, get 1 free because they're apparently beer. And so that $49.99 price goes down to $42.50. So we can get all 25 tablets that we need for $1,050. They got 8 hours of battery life. We've just got them, our set in the mail. We started testing them now. We'll see how it works out. But, you know, the advantage of these is there's other tablets that only cost $50. These are better than those. And yes, it's locked Amazon content. There's ads. Like, there's a lot of disadvantages to these. But the advantage is the schools we work with can afford them. And in the work that I do, that was my main criterion, was technology that has a long battery life, that doesn't completely suck, and that the schools can afford. So the way we're getting around a lot of the Amazon proprietary stuff is we're in an offline setting, and there's a way of installing your own apps on there. That didn't used to be true as of a year ago. You had to jailbreak your device in order to install whatever you wanted. They got rid of that. So now you can install unknown apps, is what they call it. So yeah, we're going with these for the moment. If you have better ideas that would cost around the same, talk to me. Just trying to explain like the reasoning for why people are drawn to these things, even though there's a lot of disadvantages, is the cost.
So for Rachel, you can potentially you only need a web browser. What other apps are you installing on this?
So we would like to be able to make our writing app, which currently is a sugar that only works on the XO, to work
I've just
on.
downloaded it.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
So that's something for the future. If anyone wants to work for free on that, sorry, I can't pay you. That's something that we're looking for. I'm in touch with a couple of schools that are thinking of doing it as like a service learning project. In the meantime, if it's not ready by December, which come on, it's October, November now, there are some other storytelling apps that are available online. So African Storybooks has some, and there's Pratum Books has some. They're not as good as ours. Ours is the best, which is why we need it. But we might rely on those in the interim for that 15 minutes of writing time. So yeah, I hope to get our app working on a browser one day, ideally. It would be a browser that can be used on a tablet or an XO.
So the app is,
Yeah, it's basically image, right? So image composition and overlay and
Yeah.
and a little bit of text. So it shouldn't be too hard to.
I talked to Gonzalo and he said it would be about 8 weeks of part-time work.
Okay.
And I don't have the funds to pay him at the moment, so we're searching for volunteers / funds, whichever comes first.
So your sugar activities on ASBO,
On what?
activitiessugarlabs.org.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
Called Write Books.
And it's also on GitHub. The code is up there.
Yeah.
I'm sure Gonzalo would welcome people contributing to it, making it. Yeah.
what is it written
Hmm?
in? You know what it's written in?
I want to say he used JavaScript, but honestly, I'm not.
It's already written in JavaScript.
You can find it on GitHub, and someone smarter than me should take a look and figure out what's going on there. So yeah, this is my pretty kids reading book slide. It's girls. Always have a slide with girls, guys. Like, so many of our slides are just dudes dorking around on computers. No offense to the dude dorks in this room, but please have slides with girls. So yeah, this is the question slide. This is also the everyone's getting hungry, let's go to lunch slide. Now that you know more about what I'm doing, you can ask me questions. I really, really do want feedback on cost, on design, because we are submitting this on Tuesday, and it would be nice if it was better than it is.
No, it's written in Python.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sugar activities in general.
You need to spend more
So
time
Nick's
with
app,
budget.
which was the original, like, making phonics books, was written in JavaScript.
Okay.
And we installed it on our server and ran it from the server in the browser.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one I guess is Python. But yeah, and this is what we're up to. This is what I'm up to. It's one idea of how to put computers to use in a way that benefits people, in a way that they can afford, and in a way that's very real and tangible to all of the students in the classroom, not just the music geeks or the math geeks or the programming geeks, but not just the 21st century skill learners who will go on and be coders, but everyone in school needs to learn how to read. Everyone, except the kids on the bottom apparently, seems to be benefiting from what we're doing right now. So that's what I'm working on. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, we need many more projects that actually evaluate the effect and the difference.
Well,
between
everyone's talking about money
bringing
for
the
this,
laptops
but people
in,
are like, you're actually evaluating the difference between
Yeah.
technology and traditional methods? Whoa, like that's.
All right, so
It's good that they're